just start. Hey guys, I'm excited to for another episode of the SIBO Survivor Show, and today I'm super excited because I have an awesome guest. His name is Dane Johnson. Dane is the owner and founder of Crohn's and Colitis Lifestyle.com. Dane's passion is in holistic nutrition, and he began after he experienced his own life-threatening battle with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And we'll dive a little more into his story in this chat today. But basically, he had some really severe health problems as well, and he was able to get out of that. So now, natural medicine also played a huge role in Dane's recovery and allowed him to discontinue the use of conventional drugs. And he's now a leading practitioner and holistic. He runs a holistic community and website to help people and coaches people who struggle with similar issues. So I'm excited to chat with Dane today and just kind of go through his story, hear what helped him, hear what kind of changes he had to make to really find better gut health and get his life back on track, and just kind of help you guys as well. So great to have you, Dane. Can you just give us maybe a little introduction of where you live, kind of what you do?
Yeah, 100%. So I started Crohn's and Colitis Lifestyle a few years ago after I was able to get myself out of that prison, that box called IBD.
Yeah.
And that did not happen easily. It took a lot of years, a lot of pain, a lot of failure, a lot of wanting to give up that led me to finally find the key of healing, which I think starts in the mind.
Yeah.
So first, I really felt that the mindset change was a huge shift. I live in California, and I was first diagnosed for, some people are confused right now, being Crohn's and colitis, which one?
Yeah.
I was first diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and then later on Crohn's disease. And then another doctor said it was ulcerative colitis with gastritis. And then another said, nope, it's Crohn's disease. And another doctor said it was ulcerative colitis. So I just started saying I have Crohn's colitis.
Yeah.
So my entire GI tract was at risk. And, I think there's a lot of commonalities with these very broad terms, which are SIBO, ulcerative colitis, proctitis, diverticulitis, Crohn's disease, gastritis, IBS. It's just kind of like saying, well, you're halfway hurt, but you're not fully hurt, or you're really in a bad position, or kind of in a bad position. There's very broad terms. I think that bacteria overgrowth in your small intestine leads to, many times, a Crohn's diagnosis.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of my Crohn's clients have bacteria overgrowth in their small intestine and H. pylori infections in their small intestine and stomach. So there's a lot of crossover. The root cause issues of all of this tends to be many different things, and that's why what's working for me isn't working for some other people who are listening to this. And some other people who are listening to this who've had a lot of great results lately with some remedy or food change or supplement could broadcast that to the world, and a lot of people would say, that's crap, it doesn't work. And the reason we're having such conflict in communication is because our diagnoses are not one and the same. They are umbrella diagnoses.
Yeah.
So Crohn's disease could have many different root cause issues, but the specific issue to you who are listening is most likely different than mine or Josh's or some other people listening.
Yeah, definitely. Really cool, insight into a little bit of your story, and also just how, like you touched upon, gut issues in general, whether you have Crohn's, colitis, IBS, SIBO, it all kind of stems from the same place, and each person has a unique body. So I think trying to figure out, what your root causes are as a person, everyone is different, is very important. I think just diving back into kind of your path a little more. So the doctors basically told you that it seems like it was kind of confusing for you. They said ulcerative colitis, Crohn's. I mean, what were
Yeah.
you going through at that time? Was it like kind of I imagine that must have been kind of frustrating having different doctors tell you
Yeah.
different things and yeah.
Yeah. So I had my first symptoms when I was 19 years old, and I finally got diagnosed at 23, and it nearly killed me when I was 27.
Wow.
I was in the hospital on my 27th birthday.
Yeah.
And throughout those years, the diagnosis was tough because I was having just different issues all throughout the GI tract, but most of the heavy inflammation resided in my colon and large intestine.
Okay.
So that's where most of the symptoms when I first was dealing with this tend to be in the colon, which can be hard to treat because what you do orally doesn't necessarily affect that lower part of the GI as well as the stomach or small intestine.
Yeah. So you got sick and you were kind of really struggling for a while. And you were getting different opinions from doctors. So what did you really try and do? What did they recommend you do? And what did you start doing at first to try and get better?
So I followed the advice of my doctors. I took first Lialda and prednisone,
Yeah.
and as I had to come off the prednisone and Lialda or Asacol at the time was not holding me stable, I went on to 6-MP, and then I got drug-induced hepatitis from the 6-MP,
Wow.
and I went over to methotrexate and went back on prednisone, on and off prednisone many years, and different forms of mesacylamine, Canasa, steroidal enemas, uh, you know, painkillers. Then I went on to use Remicade, and then eventually Entyvio, methotrexate, TPN,
Yeah.
PD therapy. So, I really was going up the ladder of drugs, and I found that I was getting nowhere quick. And it seemed like I was getting more sick and more sick the more I tried.
Mhm.
And I was also, I think one of my advantages in my story was I was a healthy young kid.
Yeah.
I didn't have problems when I was 15, 18. So I got through high school without these problems.
Mhm.
And once you become an adult and you're conscious of the world as a healthy person, and then you get sick, there's this strength to your spirit
Yeah.
that I believe saved me.
Yeah.
So really deeply believe that I'm not a disabled person. And
Yeah.
some of you out there might be listening to this, and your child or you have been dealing with this since you were young, very young. And that's a traumatic thing to never feel what it's like to be healthy
Yeah. Yeah.
in a conscious state of adulthood.
Yeah.
So I think that was one thing that really helped me in my story to change my mindset. So once I went through the conventional drugs, I finally was willing to pick up a book on natural healing and just consider it,
Yeah.
which, people in my family had been trying to shove down my throat since the beginning.
Mhm.
But, to me, I worked at Papa John's for 4 years. I
Yeah.
ate fast food. I grew up in the sticks where I wasn't willing to consider eating a specific way because I thought it would make me different. I thought like I'd be a outcast. I wouldn't be able to do what the things people could do, and I felt like it was a prison. So became very scared of it.
Yeah.
Uh, but once I had enough pain, and this is, the best catalyst for people is pain. So if you're going through a great amount of pain, it could be just the thing to help change the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go
I
ahead.
totally agree with that because even for me, when I was really struggling, right, you talked about how like you have to have kind of that painful moment or that really, even like really depressing time, right, where it makes you take action, it makes you change something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's kind of the way as human beings. It's kind of the way we operate. Is sometimes we don't make a change that we need to until we have a severe enough pain or issue. It's really interesting.
Yeah. I heard a podcast by Ty Lopez the other
Yeah.
day who said that once people reach the age of 25, they're very hard to change the way they think. That's why he goes after young people, because he can get them while they're young and change their mindset and how things can be done much easier than people who've already gone through some life. He said when he talked to one of the biggest psychologists in the world, and he asked, can people change? With the question, can people really change? The psychologist said yes, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
The way people change once they've gotten to a certain age, 25 in this example, is through a great deal of pain.
Yeah.
Pain can be the best catalyst, and that's how I changed. I changed through a great deal of pain.
Yeah.
But once the pain came, I switched my perspective. And the perspective switch was I was no longer going to sacrifice my diet or my lifestyle, but invest in who I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked myself, how can the changes I need to make and the investments I need to make in healing Crohn's or colitis help empower me to be the person, if I never had this, that I know I wanted to be?
Yeah, definitely.
And I found that when I sat down and I said, forget the disease, forget all this, who do you want to be? Do you want to be a healthy person? Yes. Do you want to be active and mobile and look good and feel good into your 40s, 50s, and 60s? Yes. Do you want to have your children deal with this? No. Do you want to become more of a conscious, energetic person? Yes. It just, in every way I looked at it, it was just really a value add to my overall dreams.
Yeah, and that's a really important point, because I think even in my story as well, like, you have to kind of put things in perspective sometimes. And like you're talking about, if you're going through pain and suffering, oftentimes that's great enough to really make you kind of think about your life, think about the way things are going, and ask yourself if, making a change and trying something different is worth it, right? And a lot of times it is when you're in pain. That's oftentimes a catalyst. So I guess before we kind of continue on, my listeners who mainly have, the term is IBS, SIBO, a lot of the symptoms are gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, fatigue. So what kind of symptoms? Because I know that you had more of an inflammatory issue with the inflammatory bowel disease. So what were the painful symptoms that you were really dealing with? Because I just want to give my listeners an idea of the difference between IBD and maybe IBS, the symptoms.
Well, all the symptoms you just mentioned I had.
Yeah.
And I also had sometimes upwards of 25 bloody bowel movements in a day.
Yeah.
Extreme weight loss, anemia, chronic fatigue, brain fog, chronic pain in the stomach. So a lot of those things, when you're getting bloating, gas, indigestion, you have to, it's not just about diet. And I think that's the biggest misconception.
Yeah.
Diet can be healing, but for the sake of changing your gut and your microbiome and your ability to properly digest food, it's a advocate to create space in your body for a healing effect. It usually isn't the final healing effect that needs to take place.
Yeah.
So if someone goes, I've been gluten-free and I've been eating bone broths and being paleo or been a fruitarian for 90 days, and I said I saw some symptom relief, but I still haven't been able to really get there. When am I going to be able to add in food, if ever?
Yeah.
And the problem there is finding the real root cause and implementing a strategy that can help heal that root cause.
Yeah.
That's where I recommend more research, working with a private coach, getting the correct lab work done to understand what the exact problem is. So healing comes in layers. And my symptoms in those regards did not come all at once.
Yeah.
They started calming down. I mean, the first thing to calm down is how many bowel movements, and then over time the pain and gaining the weight, the anemia. So you want to look at it and make it digestible, and ask you what things can you implement on a daily basis that can help heal those symptomatic responses. And you'll find that most of the symptoms with SIBO and IBS are very common with IBD and Crohn's disease, colitis.
Yeah.
It's usually not as severe,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Definitely. So, I mean, so let's get back to your story a little bit. So at that point in your life, you're trying all the pharmaceuticals and it sounds like you just weren't really getting better, right?
No, I mean, I did get some symptom relief. The prednisone helped, but that was always a temporary solution.
Yeah.
Immunosuppressants didn't really help. I didn't really want them to help.
Yeah.
I never really wanted them to work.
Yeah.
I didn't see myself staying on drugs for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the Liata and Nasacol was never helpful. The methotrexate and 6-MP was not helpful. I think my root cause issue was different. The thing that was causing those big issues were bacterial infections, lack of digestion, ulcerations, leaky gut.
Yeah. And
the immune system was just reacting to the chaos in my gut.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because even a lot of the gut issues are the same, right? Like as we talk about, like whether IBS, SIBO, or an inflammatory condition. A lot of times when you see a conventional doctor, they'll have you try pharmaceuticals first, right? And even from my experience, just talking to people and seeing kind of the way people progress through their health condition, like you said, sometimes they help a little bit or sometimes they don't help at all. So it's like, I totally agree. It's about really finding the root cause and also switching other things around in your life. So I mean, for you, what kind of, you talk about that pain you're going through, that suffering, and what enabled you to kind of change your mindset and to start looking into alternative solutions and start finding things that actually worked?
And that's a big question, and that got delayed for me for a lot of years. Is because I didn't know where to start, and every time I thought about starting, I had 60 errands to do in a day and a whole life to live that kept delaying the onset. And because I didn't have a plan, it was hard for me to even think about what to implement. So everyone out there who's in this space of constant pain and hurt, and you're just stuck in this vicious cycle, know that it comes in layers of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the time comes. You want to start finding the small wins and start with the simplest thing. You will never know step 4 until you get to step 3.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never know what to do at step 8 until you've already completed 1 through 6 and you're working on 7. Then you'll start seeing step 8. Mm-hmm. So don't worry about the future. Worry about what's right in front of you. It needs to have a strategy where, okay, you're going to work on these things for the next 3 weeks because of the long-term strategy. Yeah. And that's where faith comes in.
Yeah.
So, where can you implement things now? And the best piece of advice I can give you is, 1, decide to be your own best doctor. Don't rely on other people to be your answer. Be your own answer, but cherry pick things from other people that you think can work for your unique experience.
Yeah.
So don't look for this, perfect blueprint. Some people get lucky and they follow some blueprint that does everything for them. I find that your rate of success is much higher if you just personalize it. So don't be afraid to cherry pick from Josh or me or David Klein or Jordan Rubin or Jeannie Patel.
Yeah.
And add it into your personal regiment. And the way you're going to build your regiment is by starting off with a daily protocol, the things that you're going to commit to from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, and then keeping track of those things through journaling. Yeah. So journaling isn't just something that you should put your emotional state of being, but also track how many bowel movements you had, you can even rate 1 out of 10, your energy levels, your bloating, your chronic fatigue or brain fog, whatever problem. Just become conscious of it on a daily basis. And I've done this with people. I had one client who called me up who had ulcerative colitis, but his biggest problem was he was chronically depressed. He was bipolar, chronically depressed.
Yeah.
The reason I decided to work with him is because he was so aware of it. He didn't want to be that way. He was very conscious of how his mind was affecting him. And he'd already taken a lot of effort to get his diet very clean and be very systematic. So one thing we did with him, which has nothing to do with the physical response, but just his mental response, is every day I'd ask him to rate his mental 1 out of 10 and then write why. So whenever he said 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, he'd write why, even if it was good. Why is it so good or why is it so bad? 20 days later, he wrote me and had a huge breakthrough. And I don't think that it will guarantee a breakthrough, but it is manifesting. When you become your own best doctor, it manifests the ability to have huge breakthroughs. And that takes peace, consistency, and prudence.
Yeah, and I really like the first thing you kind of talked about too, is just getting small wins, because even in my journey, like, kind of the same thing that you talked about. It was like, okay, I was really sick and I wanted to get better, right? I was trying everything, and I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna kind of relax and just let things happen, right? And try things, see if they help, kind of get out of that constant stress and like, I have to get better tomorrow mode, right? Because like you, like, I tried small things, right? Like, for example, herbal teas for me, like implementing really good herbal teas and making them on my own, that helped a lot. Like even using an elemental diet supplement to kind of get me on track a little bit, that helped a lot. So just small things that kind of, like you talked about, they build, right? And you kind of, I feel like everyone's health journey takes a different path and takes a different amount of time. It could take years, it could take months. But I think, like you talked about, just getting small wins and kind of trying to have that mindset shift of gearing more towards natural health and what can I do to improve a little bit and start getting on a better path. So I guess my question for you is, what kind of got you, what were kind of the initial steps that kind of started you on a better path?
The first thing I did is I created a journal.
Okay.
Which allowed me to become empowered and response-able for my day. So I agree with you. Don't always expect huge wins. Count the little wins. And I can't tell you how many of my clients come and then I say, how are things going? And usually within the first 10 seconds of the call, I know how things have been because I can hear it in their voice. And sometimes clients go, yeah, it's been okay. And we'll go over where they are in their goals. And they've literally reduced 40% of their symptoms in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And they don't even realize it because they are just, all they're doing is focusing on this still a little bit of problem. Well, I haven't had as much formation. I still haven't gained the 10 pounds I'm after or the 20 pounds I'm after. Yeah. I'm still a little tired. Oh, where are your bowel movements at? Well, I had about 8 yesterday. Well, you were at 15 2 weeks ago. Any blood? Actually, I haven't seen as much blood. Oh, so your bleeding's down, the most dangerous problem you can have.
Yeah.
But you don't hear that in their energy. So what I did is I started keeping vigorous track of where my symptoms are because I desperately needed to get some wins because I was looking down the barrel of surgery and drugs for the rest of my life, being on disability, living in my mom's basement.
Yeah.
So I was like, please God, don't put me in there. Yeah. Like let me just see something. I was praying.
Yeah, definitely.
Please God. You guys think I'm joking? No, I was praying morning and night. Why was I praying? Because prayer could only help me. It couldn't hurt me.
Yeah.
There's no gluten in prayer, right?
Exactly.
So it was a thing of just saying, like, I literally was praying, and when I looked and I noticed, I only had 9 fluid bowel movements today from 18 or 17. I saw a lot less blood. I saw a little bit of formation. I was able to walk 3/4 of a mile instead of a 1/4 mile today. I gained 3 pounds.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm already healed. All I got to do is keep running this play. It was like, having Tom Brady in your team and just having your outside throw. It's just, you're hitting Gronkowski every time.
Yeah.
And you're like, all I need is the 10-yard gain. I'm just gonna score. We got 2 minutes left on the clock. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
I'll be in the end zone by 90 seconds, right? So it was kind of like that. You got to look at the momentum, and you got to come and be Dr. Kevin, Dr. Josh, Dr. Dane, at least twice a day for 5 minutes. Where you shut down your emotions, everything going in your life, and you self-talk to yourself and say, okay, how many bowel movements do you have? How is your bloating? What did you eat? How was your energy levels? What time did you wake up? What time did you go to bed? How much did you weigh? And when you do that, you'll start seeing the trends in your life and you start becoming more in touch with what's working in your eating habits and your supplements. But you have to try new things. That's where boldness comes in. Finding success is always going to be a mixture of faith, boldness, and consistency.
Yeah.
And then also prudence, knowing which way you should go. And that's why you guys are listening to this podcast, is to retain something that you can use in your day. So that, I would say the number one thing you can use, and I want you to take from this, is understand that you are the CEO of your health. You're your own best doctor. Simplify your day. Your day needs to be digestible. What's going to be the first thing you do when you wake up? What's going to be the last thing you do, and why? And how does it fit into your overall plan? But it needs to come into a daily protocol.
Yeah. And how does it fit into your plan of getting back to a healthy lifestyle too, right? Because if you shift towards that mentality, like you're gonna improve if you have that outlook. And it's so true though, like even when you're getting better, for me as well, like I think that the piece you talked about just kind of sitting down maybe once or twice a day, journaling, being your own doctor is so important, because sometimes when you are getting better, I don't know if you've seen this in people, but you try and underestimate how much better you've gotten, right? It's like you're getting so much better and you don't realize it, right? Just because it's happening as well.
Yeah, you're in the middle of the work.
Yeah.
And how many times, guys, this is a great example. How many times have you ever been on a sports team or had a coach, like a life coach or a personal trainer, and you're excited to see your trainer? You're like, yeah, I'm good. Let's go. And you go in, and he asks you 6 questions, and 2 of them you didn't do correctly. Yeah. I mean, I'm so guilty of that because why we even have a trainer? Accountability.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised if you just take notes on what you're supposed to do every day, and you have to write them in. You start becoming accountable for your own actions, and you don't go, oh yeah, I forgot. So imagine, guys, if Josh or I were sitting down with you 5 minutes a day and just had a piece of paper you couldn't see, and we just asked you a series of questions twice a day.
Yeah.
How much would you guys go, yeah, I'd probably be able to heal at that point. If Josh or Dane was sitting next to me, and right before I went to bed, I just had 5 or 10 minutes with them. Yeah. And right when I woke up, I had 5 minutes with how my sleeping habits went, if I had to wake up and use the restroom, all that. I would probably get really consistent and be really on it.
Yeah.
All I need is Josh just waking up now on my left shoulder every day, right?
Yeah.
So be that, because people who've been successful have been accountable for their own health, and that's self-empowerment. Self-empowerment is the most valuable tool in life. It's everything I do, or I've always been attracted to, it's always been rooted in self-empowerment.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, a health coach is awesome. Someone can get a health coach, right? So, did you have a health coach? And I mean, how do you kind of keep yourself accountable as well?
Yeah. Well, first, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I have my own things I need to work on. Believe me, I wake up and there's things on my to-do list about accountability in my daily protocol and things I want to be adding in, and new lab tests I'm doing on myself to further my health to the next level.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I'm working on. I'll be the first to admit it. I've got work to do. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I found a way out because I was back into such a corner, and it was dangerous, and I was no longer willing to play this game of allowing these doctors or the society or my own body to impose such an imprisonment on me. I was not willing to stay in that, so I was willing to do whatever it took to get out. Secondly, I didn't have a coach, but I was in school for natural medicine.
Okay.
So taking classes on natural medicine, having naturopath doctors as professors is a huge value. So I could jump on a call for 10 minutes and just go, hey, they already knew I had Crohn's, the day before I got out of the hospital. I mean, I spent more time on the phone with my professor than I did with my GI doctor, because he just wanted to take my colon out.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, thanks. And then I'd call my ND up, and he'd go, and he was kind of scratching his head too. Like, dude, this kid is one click away from RIP.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't sure, because he, specializing in this specific severe autoimmune disease is very unique. You get someone out there who really specializes in severe rheumatoid arthritis or multiple sclerosis, or Crohn's disease. It's very, very rare.
Yeah.
So he was an ND across the board, but did he have a specific experience with Crohn's, especially that severe Crohn's? Not as much, but he knew the understanding of it. So he started opening pathways of, what vitamins were going to be most effective. How could I properly supplement iron? How could I start getting more nutrients to absorb when I had such a broken down gut? How could I get the blood? Actually, one of my main protocols was from him. He taught me to use bentonite clay to help reduce bleeding in my GI.
Yeah.
And so he was a mentor. Most of my mentors were in the books. So guys, the biggest thing I did, and I know a lot of you can't afford to do this, but I stopped working for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really leave the house that much, only to go grocery shopping or go for a walk or go to the gym or get in the sun. So I was housebound for roughly a year, and I journaled for roughly 3.5 months straight every day.
Yeah.
And I read insatiably. So, I mean, sometimes up to 4 hours or 5 hours in a day. I think there were some books I finished in 2 days.
Yeah.
So I was finding my mentors in the pages of those books. And they say that you are the average of the top 5 people you interact with. Yeah. So I made sure one of those people was a 1%er I was likely never to even meet. Mm-hmm. So one of the 5 people I was always hanging out with every day was Jordan Rubin, Tony Robbins, Dr. Klein, Dr. Susan Blum, Tom O'Brien.
Yeah.
I mean, just people who could help not only with my gut health, but my mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that when you're healing, it's just like building a business. It's like building a relationship. You have to look at the keys that implement it and create momentum. And once you understand the root of something, you can manipulate it in many different ways. And I found the root of health, and that was energy. Yeah. And I started realizing that everything was energy. Wow. Yeah. And so you got to let go of the term SIBO. Like everyone out there, it's just starts fearing you. Let go of it. You got infection. That's it. It's like, that's it.
You have gut issues, right? You have gut issues, and you need to work on your health.
That's it. And now you got to break it down. You got to simplify. You got to realize healing comes in layers. And when I started thinking like that and reading these spiritual books and these books on health and energy, and I started realizing that the conversations I was having, or what I was watching, or when I was going to bed, were having just almost as much of a negative effect as gluten or milk or cheeseburger. Yeah. So I started noticing that I needed to identify all of those negative energies and either start changing them or manipulating them to be healthy. Like a conversation with your mom or your dad or your significant other. Yeah. Sometimes those can be really negative and they can really affect ourselves. But when you start getting rid of the stressors, guess what that does? It opens up space for you to put more stress on your body. A stronger antibacterial regimen, a stronger antiviral regimen, a stronger detox regimen, a fast. The only way I was able to do those things is because I was building so much faith, and I no longer had the nuisance of what I was going to do on Friday night. I no longer had the toxicity of drinking alcohol to keep up with my social life. I no longer had the need to be up at 2 a.m. being a cool kid. I no longer had the need to watch some horror movie or crazy, loud, obnoxious thing. Yeah. I was enjoying doing things that were building me. So if I was fasting and reading a book on healing, and I was seeing that my numbers were coming down in my journal, imagine that was like emotional sex for me. Yeah. It was like having sex with the hottest girl ever. It was like, oh my God, I'm down to 6 bowel movements. I'm almost off the drugs. These motherfuckers said this wasn't even possible. Watch this. I was 25 years old, like proving these doctors wrong, but I did it because everything I was doing was I was feeding myself with that emotional nourishment. Yeah. What was making up for the lack of food, the lack of sugar, the lack of salt. See, here's a question for everyone out there. If you were stressed and you had the worst day of your life, and I had a big bag of gummy bears, chocolate donuts, Doritos, your favorite freaking stuff right in front of you, and you had someone nagging your ear, and you had a pile of this much to do at work, I would guarantee there is little chance all of you aren't going to just grab that and just start stuffing your face. Yeah. Like, so I just need something to relieve this stress. I'm just going to eat and all that stuff. But if I put that bag in front of you, but then I had your best friend in the whole world call you out of the blue, and you guys started having a funny conversation and talk about this new trip you're going to do, and you guys are laughing and joking and getting caught up, you would actually probably start to forget about the food. Yeah. You would just forget it. because your body's been replaced with other forms of positive energy. See, when you take something out, you have to bring something else back in. And that's the biggest root I learned is that food and people and stress, it all affects your energetic body.
Yeah, definitely, and it's such a good chat because like it's just there's so much more than just like the medicines you take and all those little things that people try and focus on a lot, right? Like sometimes, like you said, we're focusing on okay, I have SIBO and I need to take this protocol and do this, but like you're talking about, like I think something that a lot of people miss is just your environment and your energy, right? Your everyday, what you wake up, what you fill your mind with, right? And kind of reframing that and not being afraid to kind of jump out of the conventional way that people live, right? Because that's where healing occurs is outside of that, where um, your thinking changes, your environment, you surround yourself with loving people who care about you and you know also want to move towards a healthy lifestyle. I think those components are oftentimes people miss them and they're like almost foundational things you can't heal without them. So
Yeah.
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 um,
It'll become second nature. For anyone out there who's like, what do I do with this?
yeah,
Just breathe. Start with breath.
yeah,
Relax, and then just look around you. And just look at anything and ask yourself, is it positive or negative? And your heart, your soul will tell you.
yeah,
Look at that person. Look at that person. Look at that TV show. Look at your room. Look at the organization of it.
yeah,
Look at your car. Look at your meal. Anything. And just ask. Just breathe and breathe with it. And you'll know.
yeah.
And you'll just, within a day, you could just listen.
Yeah. So what you're saying is listen more to your intuition and your gut as well, right? And be more in tune
Yeah.
with your emotional connections, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't just mind it and
Yeah.
say, how should my diet be? I need to read 1,000 books to know what I can put in my mouth. There is a part of that, but listen, and you
Yeah.
just calming down and just being in touch with like something tangible like food. When you start to eat it, and you're at center and you're here with it, and you're being conscious,
Yeah.
your body's going to tell you that something is wrong, and that's why you guys are listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
The next thing that you need to have your body realize is this a food that you're sensitive to, allergic to, or is there something that needs to be fixed before you can implement this food again?
Yeah.
Usually, guys, you just need to fix. You just need to fix the body. The foods can be entered back in later on.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes once again, like, people oftentimes focus too much, right, on every specific food. And it's more about the core foundational healing components of what's going on in your life and what's all those things. So important.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the hardest thing though is how do you get that mindset shift? Like, did it
How
really?
do you
You talked about,
how do you fall in love?
yeah,
How do you decide if you like someone as a best friend?
yeah,
How do you decide what you want to do with your life, with your career? At a certain point, experience gives you a feeling, a knowledge, a deep knowledge. You
yeah,
just got to breathe in it. You just got to be in it and just
definitely,
be with it, and you will start to gain knowledge and intelligence. Most of you already have it right in front of you.
yeah,
You just need to be aware, and things will start coming to you.
yeah, definitely. So now that you're kind of, you've kind of went through that journey of, getting sick, trying pharmaceuticals, which didn't help that much, shifting your life towards more of a holistic approach and really being conscious and getting back to a better state of just living and energy. Um, what are some kind of foundational things that you always try and do now to kind of maintain health?
Well, I started a company based on the very thing that nearly killed me.
Yeah.
So that was, to me, the ultimate value add, win-win-win. I always look for win-win-wins.
Yeah.
It's my job to figure out how to get myself as healthy as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's my job.
Yeah.
That's where I punch the clock. All right, Dave. Figure out how do you lower your inflammation?
Yeah.
How do you get your cytokines lower?
Yeah.
How do you make sure you're not, body's not leaking lipopolysaccharides?
Yeah.
How do you add more foods in? How can you go drink a 12-pack of beer and still be okay? How are you going to travel and live in Asia?
Yeah.
Be okay. So that's one. Two is I surrounded myself with like-minded individuals. When your energy starts changing, you gravitate towards people who are like-minded energy.
Yeah.
Two, I think the third thing is I've always been intrigued by self-empowerment. So I like to read about new and interesting things. I like exercise. I mean, I've been lifting weights and running and jumping and doing things since I was 14, 12, even younger than that, but on my own, which wasn't just about playing sports. So I've always gravitated towards it. And I love seeing people learn how to beat things.
Yeah.
I've always taken pleasure, especially with people I like. I mean, everyone's like that, right? But if I really connect with somebody, I really like to see them win.
Definitely. So, I mean, you're kind of hitting at that. Like, it's so important to be, to really listen, to our gut, to our intuition, and really follow our own passions and interests, right? As well. I think that's part of, because sometimes, let's say, for example, someone's in a situation where, they're constantly stressed and they don't really enjoy what they're doing and all those things, right? Like, it's just, what do you think? It's just so important to kind of really listen to your own intuition, right? About what you should be doing, you should structure your life. Yeah.
See, and that's what's so great about all this, guys. Once you start digging at this, you start realizing that it's really very connected with how happy you are.
Yeah.
And that's just bigger than being sick.
Yeah.
It's just coming to terms with everyone's big question: how am I gonna find some peace and contentment in my daily life?
It's so true. And just to cut in real quick, it's like I love that point because through my healing journey as well, it's like when you go through suffering and depression and nasty symptoms that kind of isolate you, right? When you come down with this issue, it's like you start to really search, right? You start to search for meaning. You start to search for purpose in life, right? And you start to really ask the bigger questions about faith and all those things. And I totally agree. It all gets back to like purpose and the way you're living and what we're supposed to be doing, right? So it's so interesting how health is so connected to that.
Yeah, and you will get that, and there is some knowledge that needs to come into truly healing these. I mean, I've worked with a few people who had SIBO, and it can be extreme.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it can feel like I can't eat anything, and I have such severe reactions to any of this stuff. Yeah. And then they start to do a little bit of an antibacterial protocol, and their body goes nuts, and they think it's a flare, but it's usually not. A lot of times it's a Herxheimer reaction.
Yeah.
Herxing, check it out, guys. There's a lot of talk on it with Lyme disease, but it's really big with GI problems as well.
Yeah. Also, Herx is also known as, it's a die-off, right? It's potentially, it's really just saying die-off, yeah.
And I've noticed with SIBO, it can be quite severe.
Yeah.
So that's something that you kind of have to, you probably need someone to help guide you through it, read about it, know what you're doing. But most likely, the most tangible thing you guys can do to start getting some relief is slowly start using an anti-pathogen protocol. Yeah. Look at oil of oregano, look at deglycerized licorice root, look at berberine. I like the product GI Microbex from Designs for Health. That is a potent one, so be careful with it. Biocidin has a great product, especially if you've ever been worried about Lyme, because it kills things in your gut, but also helps kill biofilms and things connected with Lyme disease. But when you're doing those, also finding probiotics that can effectively work. So anyone out there who feels like they can't try any probiotic, I would recommend checking out LifeStart, dairy-free by Nature Probiotics. It's on my website. All this stuff's on my website. You can check it out. And I would also look at, that's the B. infantis strain, which is made for infants.
Yeah.
And, but, microbiome, the city of bacteria. Add in your police officers, drop the nukes on the bad guys, and start enabling your body. Lots of good steamed vegetables for extra fiber, which acts as a prebiotic.
Yeah.
Things that help insinuate good bacteria growth. So, those is where you need a coach, you need to read and apply. This other mindset stuff we've been talking about in life and philosophy, that's going to help reduce stress, which is going to increase digestion. It's going to boost your immune system. It's going to boost your sex drive. It's going to boost your ability to have loving, healthy conversations and attract like-minded people. And so it really does start with the mindset. And when you start to feel good about yourself and you have those positive conversations, I guarantee the catalyst you're going to need in your diet and your supplement regimens, those hardships are going to get easier because you're going to have a lot more energetic, positive energy going on within you from all of those new experiences from your mindset, pulling in great things in your life.
Yeah.
That now physical things aren't going to be as hard on you.
Yeah. So it's really, what you're saying is it's really a combination of,
100%. Everything in
energy plus your routines. Yeah.
Yeah. I call it SHIELD.
Yeah.
So that's my program, is I help people put together everything in their own personalized program.
Yeah.
So, build, and I call it SHIELD because it's your defense against these problems in life so that you can go live your life and live normal and not have to worry about these things.
Yeah.
But it takes work. It takes commitment. And it's just like, guys, when in life has anything worth having ever been so easy? What marriage, anyone out there who's been married, has ever been that easy? What career has just come in so quickly? I mean, college itself is 4 years long. Imagine if you just took 4 years of your life and you used 15 credit hours a week on gut health.
Yeah.
In 4 years, you'd probably, God knows what kind of problems you could be saving yourself. We used to go to college because we're investing in our future. What if you just go to gut health college for a year? Not because you want to be a gut health expert or you want to make money. I mean, you can do that, but because you're investing in your future. The currency of health is much more valuable than any other currency.
Yeah, definitely. So if someone wants to, reach out, get help with your coaching program or get into your SHIELD program, how do they do that? Where do they find you?
Well, I really only work with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis at crohnscolitislifestyle.com.
Yeah.
You can also follow me on Instagram, Dane Johnson 1, or Facebook, facebook.com/Crohns+lifestyle. If you need help, I would start, subscribing to our email list. It's on the website front page, and that will give you a 6 Tips to Healing Crohn's Colitis ebook, give you some ideas. And a lot of that stuff will help with your microbiome change, which will have an impact on IBS and in SIBO. And then you'll get a comp-early download of the same journal I use to heal myself. That's in my email list. I think it's like the third email that goes out. That's free for you guys. So, if you need private consulting, you can go to the consulting page, and if you think that this is the right fit, I try to work with people in my own zone. You can apply there. We're going to be rolling out a online healing program with around 30 to 60 videos and a private Facebook group that's application based. It's called Crohn's Colitis University. So we're coming at the same approach that a university comes. So it's something you apply to. We want to take the candidates that we feel are in the best position to take natural medicine and truly heal and create a positive environment for everyone around it. No negativity, no naysayers, no complaining or whining. There's only helping each other, being positive, being solution-oriented. So that Crohn's Colitis University should be out in the next 90 to 120 days. And that will come out on the email list too. So get a part of the email list. If you really feel like me and you can work together and you're really gung-ho, go to the application page for coaching, and you can apply there, and we can see what's what.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dane. I appreciate you coming on just to kind of chat about your story and what's helped. And then any of the listeners who are interested in checking out Dane's content, crohnsandcolitislifestyle.com. Thanks, Dane.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.